I want to start this morning with chapter 8. Chapter 8, we are talking about relationships, intimate relationships, and communication. So, when we talk about intimate relationships, we really need to define what those are. Most of them are characterized as romantic, or forming and communicating a romantic relationship, or communicating with family, or involving or improving communications and intimate relationships. So let's start with the nature of intimate relationships. When we speak about intimacy, we talk about developing a deep commitment. And a commitment is a desire to stay in the relationship. There are several ways that we can deepen our commitment. We can do this emotionally, social, legal, and financial. Financial is really a primary part of an intimate relationship, sometimes even more than the emotional. When we talk about interdependence, this is when the person or one person affects everyone else in the relationship with interdependence. But if you made an investment in the relationship, an investment is energy, investment is intimacy, and investment is that you are aware of how much time and effort you have put into this relationship. So here we see a picture of a happy family and everyone smiling. So if we were to look at this picture, we would see that the emotional investment is happiness. When we talk about dialectal tension, we're talking about the autonomy versus the connection, openness versus the closeness, and predictability versus novelty. But when we talk about monogamy, we're talking about one specific relationship that you are having with one specific person. So infidelity means that having a romantic or sexual interaction outside of that relationship, that someone being of the two parties, one of the two parties is unfaithful. When we talk about some romantic relationships, we need to talk about how many people are you expected to choose from, whether to be romantic, involved, and with whom. Even if people enter a romantic relationship, it should be voluntary. Remember, by it being voluntary, people have the option of not staying. And since there is no binding contract, because we're not talking about marriage, we're just talking about relationships. If there is no binding contract in this relationship, it is most definitely voluntary. That means the other person can leave when the relationship does not benefit them. Now, I want to say this. We're talking about Western world, how the Western world thinks of a romantic relationship. Other cultures, sometimes that person is selected for marriage, and they're selected by families, and the person that is actually going to engage into that relationship, they have no autonomy. They're not able to pick who they want to have a relationship. And families do this for various reasons. This can be for financial gain. It can be a legal commitment. It can be, and this is cultural, and it can be creating a legacy. Maybe we want to establish a legacy of wealth. So remember, I need you guys to remain as if you are college students, and I need you to think about that some relationships, they are not opposite sex. Some relationships involve same sex. And we do have same-sex relationships. Think about your relationship with your brother or sister. Think about your relationship with your mother and father. These are not romantic relationships, but they are relationships nonetheless. There are expectations of exclusivities, and sometimes there are not relationships that are exclusive. Relationships should be voluntary, and there should be an expectation of love. When forming and communicating a romantic relationship, we need to think about the NAP model. Initiating, experimenting, intensifying, integrating, and bonding. Stages vary across culture and online. When we talk about conflicts in these relationships, we're talking about struggles between the least two interdependent parties. But there are also goals. When we talk about relationships, they vary in how we handle conflict. Is it volatile? Is it validating? When we say volatile, couples discuss their disagreements openly and not competitively. There is no aggression or assertion in this. Sometimes we make this statement that we agree to disagree. When we talk about validating, couples discuss their disagreements openly and cooperatively. So I see your point. I understand your point. Do you have evidence to back up your point of your argument when dealing with our relationship? Forming and communicating in a relationship, we have conflict avoidance. Sometimes couples, they avoid conflicts. There very much could be a problem, but instead of dealing with it, they may let the conflict fester and in turn create a bigger conflict. When relationships become hostile, couples have frequent and intense conflict. When we're talking about romantic relationships and how they vary with privacy, we believe that privacy is very important. Partners and couples jointly own information about their relationship. We form and manage privacy boundaries. When I want to say this, there are some things, especially in a romantic relationship, everything does not have to be shared. Some things can be personal and private. What do you choose to disclose? Whatever it is that you disclose with your partner, know that everybody has privacy boundaries. Happy partners share more positive emotions and less negative emotions. Unhappy partners are more likely than happy partners to reciprocate or express the negative. If you are in a relationship and there is a continual negative exchange, or your partner feeds off the negative in order to communicate with you, or cause conflict in order to communicate with you, this is what we now call toxic. And we kind of want to sway from toxic relationships. We want more positive relationships. So when we talk about instrumental communication, we're talking about day-to-day tasks that are required, doing check-ins. Hey, how is your day? I'm fine. How is your day? If there is something that is negative, try to change that negative into a positive. In the NAP model, as we stated once before, there is avoiding and terminating and stagnating and differentiation in those relationships, and we must dissolve that. So let's talk about what makes family. What makes a family? Genetic ties, legal obligations, role and behavior. Family origins, where in which we grow up. Family, where does the family start? Is it a nuclear family? Is it a blended family? Is it a single parent family? I want you to know that all three of these, when we talk about the procreation of family, all three of these are very important structures of the family. Families have roles in how we interact with each other. There are 4 common roles that emerge during conflict: the blamer, the distractor, the prosecutor. And every family has rituals, and rituals are repetitive activities that are special and meaning for the family. Some family rituals are imported from other families. And of course, when you have that blended family, each family member should bring in something from that they valued. And it does need to be something that they valued or they held personal for the improvement of the family. When we confirm messages, we emphasize positivity. When we disaffirm messages, we lack respect or value for the other. Some people may say, oh, that is my trigger. That's my trigger word. But we have to look upon and think what we value most. I'm going to let you go through improving intimate communications. We only have maybe 2 slides, and you guys can finish those 2 slides on your own. This is chapter 8.